it's actually starting to get on my nerves. The cost of living crisis. I have £43 to my name.
We just don't know how we're going to afford to pay it, and students are being absolutely fucked over by this whole crisis.
You live in the UK and this isn't you. This isn't how you're walking around the house. You're doing well in life. Well done, you.
A generation of young people in the UK are beginning adulthood amidst a cost of living crisis. Some fear they'll never leave home as rents soar. Many are having to work more and more, that is, those who have jobs. And as costs spiral above wages, we've discovered an increasing number are finding themselves frustrated and isolated.
I'm robbed of my independence and my social life purely because I cannot afford anything else.
Not having enough money to do something is quite painful.
It's really lonely and it's really isolating, being by myself constantly.
Money connects us all, no matter how much you've got or how little you've got. Is it a cost of living crisis or is it a cost of existing crisis?
A huge number of people across generations are struggling right now. But it's younger people, many less financially secure, who are often resorting to more drastic measures. 18 to 24-year-olds are more likely than older age groups to have borrowed money, fallen behind on household bills and even skipped meals as the cost of living has soared.
Any advice I'm going to give you, man, don't be broke, uni. Please. Listen, I've hit rock bottom on my life. Gee, when I say for the past 3 weeks I've been surviving, my belly has been digesting the same rice and beans. I wake up, rice and beans after lecture, rice and beans dinner, rice and beans before I go to bed, rice and beans. I've just been consuming rice and beans.
Nathan Kalambai is in his second year at university studying computer science. Like many others, he can no longer afford his regular food shop.
So I'd be a lot more careful with what I'm eating and how I manage my food across the week. So, for example, is the quantity of food I take in. Normally, I'd say I'm a person that eats a lot, but because of the cost of living crisis, I'd say I've had to budget or at least manage the food quantity that I intake daily.
So eating smaller meals?
Yeah, definitely.
Nathan has a student loan and a part-time job in a shop, but his income hasn't kept up with inflation.
I think it's when I've actually went out with my friends one time and I realised, I may not have enough money to cover a certain amount of activity. Then I realised I think going to work or putting in an extra shift or getting an extra hour would go a long way with the extra amount.
Could that start interfering with your uni work?
Obviously, managing uni, especially because I'm in second year as well, that's quite a lot of stress. And also picking up extra shifts as well, I feel like that has taken a toll.
Has it changed the way you're socialising with friends?
Believe it or not, I feel like it's made us a bit more creative. So because we know we can't spend X, Y, Z amount of money, it actually forces us to bring in new ideas on how to enjoy ourselves at uni.
32 kills in that game.
Nah, not even.
For this student house at least, that has meant nights in playing chess. Wholesome and crucially, free.
I saw something that he could do in it, but I'm not going to tell him.
But sacrificing clubbing and meals out is only part of the solution. Almost half of young people are working extra hours. That's compared to just under a third of all adults taking on more work. And more than a fifth of young people have started a second job, while only a tenth of all adults have sought another income.
Day in the life of a uni student with 2 jobs.
Young people are facing challenges at every twist and turn at the moment. I mean, is it a cost of living crisis or is it a cost of existing crisis? It feels relentless. It's food prices, it's bills, it's looking down the barrel at their future and thinking, when will this end?
It is quite draining, but things you've got to do. Cost of living is expensive, and here's me after my shift on my way home.
I think I'll be renting for most of my life, and I think so will all my friends. I don't think any of them are going to have any chance at having half of what their parents' generation had.
No, we're fine, don't worry. Yeah, happy to assist. I hate you.
Gem Osborne graduated from university just before the pandemic. She has now found a job in retail, but she still can't afford to rent a place of her own, so she's living with her mum.
And what would it mean to you to be able to move out?
Oh, the world. It would just give me so much more confidence and independence, and it would change my relationships as well. I can't see my friends, I can't have anyone round. It's just really tough.
She says that getting together a deposit to rent somewhere with a friend would be a big struggle.
I managed to save a bit during COVID, but that's all gone now because I had a few months where I didn't have a job, so I had to use the little savings I had to survive. It's been an absolute car crash. I don't know what to do anymore because I've got student debt and I've got own debts from like having to live and having to take out like credit cards to be able to afford certain things, like when our dog was ill, having to pay for that, for the vet's fees.
What could the government do to help you right now?
They could definitely give us a break. They could definitely say, we'll pause your student loan payments, or if you're living at home with your family, if you've lived with them for X amount of years, here's some money to help you move out. Or just some sort of cut where we just get a break for a year.
As her finances stand, independence is something Jem simply can't afford, and she's not alone. Almost 1 in 4 young people, that's 23%, have moved in with their families because of rising rent and bills. That's compared to just 6% of all adults trying to save money by living with relatives.
There are a lot of people who still live at home, and I've always had the saying that living at home, you're not paying rent, but you're paying with your mental health.
These challenges are affecting all generations, but it's particularly difficult for younger generations who are looking further into the future and thinking, when is this going to end? They've come off the back of crisis after crisis after crisis, and they're thinking, I'm going to have to create a career in this environment. I'm going to have to consider what family looks like in this environment. So it just feels heavy and dense. And on top of that, they have way less financial agility. They can't maneuver their situations as freely as older generations can, perhaps. So there's a real lack of empowerment, and that's leading to a sense of injustice about the whole thing.
I'll give up. I actually can't afford to leave my house.
I'm miserable because I have to sacrifice things that I never had to sacrifice for my happiness just to survive.
This is not living. This is not a way of life. This is surviving.
Tasnia Kazi is 20 years old. She wants to be a journalist, but right now she would take just about any work.
Cereal. Oh yeah, cereal. Do we need milk? The money that's given to me by the government for job seekers, £200, I have to give it for rent and the bills to my mum.
Her mum, Hasina, is also out of work.
Because of the amount I'm getting, it mainly goes on food and bills on its own, and that's not including rent, that's not including our gas, electric. Benefit that Tasnia gets, I have to take like most of it away, because if she can't contribute, I can't manage the house either.
Tasnia desperately wants to find work, but even job hunting has financial hurdles.
A normal train fare or bus fare would be £1.25, now it's gone up to £1.75 and sometimes even £3. I'd have to go to 3 or 4 assessments for just one job, so that has been really expensive.
Tasnia suffers from depression. Her social life was a way of escaping it, but as going out has become more expensive, she's become increasingly isolated.
A lot of my friends, most of the time, they won't know if I'm going to be there or not because I've cancelled so much, because I simply just can't afford it. I need to think of my priorities, like essential shopping for the house, bills, so it has been impacting my mental health a lot, especially because I'm cooped up at home like a lot of the time.
And there are many other young people struggling because they've been cut off by the cost of living.
For those in their late teens or early 20s, COVID and lockdowns hit as many were at university or trying to launch their careers. It was a stressful and lonely time, almost universally. But now it's the cost of socialising, on top of everything else, that's stopping some from going out, and it's having a big impact on mental health.
58% of young people say they feel lonely. That's compared to just 37% of all adults. And more than a third of 18 to 24-year-olds, that's 37%, said they felt more lonely in December 2022 than they did the previous year when there were still some COVID restrictions in place.
I'm in Court, right, and I found a really good hack. You know, look at this. £1.25 for these crumpets, right, and it's only a packet of 6.
Here are 3 top tips on living with rising costs.
So I moved out for uni and I'm in my 3rd year, and I've got just a few budgeting hacks, saving money hacks that you can try use.
So we're finding that young people are turning to new sources of information for their financial literacy, places like TikTok for search. Looking to peers, looking to influencers to say, how are you managing this situation? So there's this incredible sense of we're in it together in the generation, and let's help each other. Let's find hacks. Let's support each other's side hustles.
Money Mum here with another money tip. So if you are like me and you love McDonald's and you go there occasionally, make sure you download the app. You know, I don't think young people are taught enough, especially in schools, you know, sort of from the age of sort of 11 to 16, especially in senior schools. We need to be teaching about mortgages, if you get into debt, where to go, credit cards, what to do with your first wage packet. I think this is absolutely crucial and something we should be doing.
A really good tip I would give you is when you do get paid, don't go on a splurge straight away.
It's just sort of everyday things that I just don't feel are that really spoken about. And money is still a thing. Like, I notice we talk about weight on TikTok. I notice we talk about fashion. We talk about mental health, but no one talks about money. Like, if I said to you now, what do you earn a year? You'd be horrified because we're told we're not allowed to ask those questions. I think that's stopping young people asking questions. And I really want to change that for them to say, do you know what? I'm earning this, can't afford to go out tonight. I've only got £10 that I can spend on dinner, you know?
Of course, it's not just teenagers or those in their 20s who are struggling financially. Rising costs are making life difficult across all age groups. But younger people are less likely to have savings to fall back on, to own a home, or to be earning a higher wage than older generations. And those we've spoken to have said how difficult it is to break the cycle of their financial troubles at such a crucial time for them.
I can't really rest in ease without worrying about finances, worrying about if I have enough money to last me the rest of the month.
I actually have to think twice about if I'd want to spend money on socialising.
It's not fair for us.
Some are calling for financial support from the government. Many feel completely stuck with no independence. All of them are worried about the impact on their future, and none of them know how or when things might get better.